Cesar here. I wonder what John Mayer would think if one day he hears something like this played flamencized in a Spanish classical guitar. Today we're going to talk about something that I have written there, string back bass. For a lack of a better term, I cannot find any other way of kind of describing it in a very simple sentence. It is not a common thing, right? It is not something usual, right? It is not something that happens very often, but if you have spent enough time among classical guitars, mainly classical guitars, to some extent acoustic guitars, like I have done, you have probably found yourself facing this situation. I did with my Alhambra 9P, which is a relatively high-end guitar, so it does not happen only in entry-level instruments. And now let me explain to you what is this string back bass, because it is not the usual fret bass that we have all experienced in our guitars. Well, we all have experienced fret bass in our guitars. If you string your notes with enough energy, right, or you pluck the string with enough energy, you are going to hear sometimes that fret bass. It is a normal thing, right? There are many different ways of avoiding it or minimizing it, and there are millions of videos in YouTube about it. I have several videos about it, right, myself, so I'm not gonna go into the normal fret bass, right? The fret bass that is produced when you pluck a note and you hear that rattle, right? That comes from the frets that are immediately after the note that you're fretting. But there are situations where you are going to hear fret bass coming from the part of the string that is between the knot and the note you are fretting. So if you're fretting here at the 8th fret, which is where in my 9P was happening, in the E, in the low E string, when I was fretting the 8th fret, I was having a back bass, right? Bass from the part of the string that is between the knot and the fret that I was, and the note that I was fretting, right? That is what I call back bass, for the lack of a better term. And this really drives you crazy, believe me, because depending on the way that you're using to amplify your guitar, you may not hear it going through the amps, right? Going through the recording, you are not going to hear it. But when you're practicing, it is really very annoying, right? Because it is a rattle that makes playing in that position really uncomfortable. And if you're not used to this, right, and how to fix it, you can look at, vibrations on your tuning machines everywhere, and you're not going to find where it is coming from. The way you can diagnose the string back bass is very simple. Imagine that we fret the 8th fret here with our middle finger, right? And we are perceiving that rattle. And we want to understand where is it happening. If you simply rest your index finger without applying any pressure, just resting your index finger on top of the string, and you fret again, and you don't hear the rattle, is back bass. Very simple, right? You don't need to put any pressure, just resting, lying your finger on top of the string that is rattling. It will go away if it is string back bass. And what is the origin of the back bass? Well, what happens is that there are sympathetic frequencies. Let me see if we have a volume. Yes. That when you fret the note, those sympathetic frequencies make vibrate the part of the string that is between the knot and the note you're fretting, and then the rattle is produced here, right, in this part. Now, how can you fix that? In an acoustic guitar, it's very simple, because you simply tweak a little bit the truss rod, and in the moment you increase a little bit the relief, of the neck is gone. But in a classical guitar, you cannot do that because you don't have a truss rod. Classical guitars don't have truss rods, though there are some modern manufacturers that are including truss rods in classical guitars. I've seen some Ibanez, but in a normal classical guitar, you are not going to have a truss rod. So you are left with three options, right? First one, knot. If you increase the knot height a little bit, the rattle is gone, right? Second, you could dress your frets, level your frets, but I don't recommend that because that's a one-way ticket, right? And unless you really need, your guitar really needs a fret leveling, I don't recommend doing fret levelings, honestly, right? Unless you need them because the frets are uneven. This was not the case. The third one, which is what I did, and is the simplest one, is I changed the string tension. And I went from normal tension to hard tension, and then the rattle disappeared, because what happens, and I'm telling you, is that you need to increase a little bit the relief on your neck. And what do I mean by changing the string tension? It's not about tightening the strings here at the tuning pegs, no. If you follow my channel, you probably have learned that when we're talking about nylon strings, the string sets are available in different tensions, right? So what I did was I went from normal tension to hard tension, and that solved totally the issue. So that's the back bass, right? Believe me, as I said, it is really very annoying when you're practicing, because you keep on hearing that rattle and you try to find where is it coming from, and you don't, right? Probably what happens is that you need to or increase the height of your knot, or changing the tension of your strings, going to a higher tension that will produce a little bit more of relief in your neck, right? So that's it, guys. Back bass. Probably you have never heard about it before, and I hope then you have learned something today. See you very soon in my next videos, and up to that moment, please play your guitars, have fun, and be good. Bye.